Hello friends, welcome to the current affairs analysis for 17th February 2020. So the United Nations chief Mr. Antonio Guterres yesterday said that he is ready to act as a mediator between India and Pakistan to solve the Kashmir dispute. But India has strongly said no to the UN chief's offer of mediation with Pakistan because India has always maintained that Kashmir was and will always be an integral part of India. And after the 1971 Indo-Pakistan War, in 1972, the Simla Agreement or Simla Pact was signed, and in that agreement, both the countries agreed that all the bilateral disputes shall be solved bilaterally without any third party intervention. That is why, when 2 months back, the US President Donald Trump offered to mediate between India and Pakistan to solve this dispute, Indian government strongly rebuked that offer, and it has reiterated that Jammu and Kashmir has been, is, and will continue to be an integral part of India. The issue that needs to be addressed is that of vacation of territories illegally and forcibly occupied by Pakistan. And if there are any other issues, they would be discussed bilaterally, and there is no role or scope for any third party mediation. So, what India is demanding is that those territories which are under the illegal occupation and forcible occupation of Pakistan, which we call as Pakistan occupied Kashmir, the talks should be held on those territories because they have been illegally occupied by Pakistan. There is a report of a national survey commissioned by the National Commission for Safai Karamcharis, and it has been launched by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So this is a very grim reminder of the fate of sewage tank cleaners in India and manual scavengers in India. So in the last 5 years, 376 manual scavengers have died, and it has been at the all-time high in 2019. So there is an act called the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act 2013. So despite a prohibition on employment of someone as manual scavenger and to provide for their rehabilitation, the act was passed in 2013, and yet after 6 years, a national survey has identified 62,904 manual scavengers between these 7 years of the implementation of this act. So what it means is that the act has proven to be ineffective. The act has not been very effective. This data was tabled in Parliament by the ministry, but let us see the data of deaths of people who have died in these 5 years. So this is a state-wise data. So in total, in 2015, 57 manual scavengers died. In 2016, 48. In 2017, 93. In 2018, 68. And in 2019, 110 manual scavengers died because of cleaning of septic tanks. So this is a very grim reminder of the fate of manual scavenging in India. And the reason that the ministry cited is that manual scavenging happens because of existence of unsanitary latrines. So unsanitary or dry latrines still exist despite the implementation of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and it has claimed that more than 25 states and UTs have already been declared open defecation free, and more than 5,20,000 villages have been declared open defecation free. So as per the government data, we are already more than 98% open defecation free, but still the existence of unsanitary latrines is the biggest reason why manual scavengers have died in the last 5 years. And the number of deaths of individuals who died while cleaning septic and sewer tanks is 376, just like we discussed. So in 2019, Uttar Pradesh reported the highest number of such deaths at 21, followed by Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Haryana. In 2017 and 18, most such deaths were reported in Uttar Pradesh. So among all the states, Uttar Pradesh has the dubious distinction of the most deaths of manual scavengers reported after the implementation of this legislation. So what the government needs to do, the government needs to increase allocation under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and should take this open defecation free status to 100%, so that no manual scavengers are needed to clean any dry latrines or unsanitary latrines, and their deaths can come down. On the other hand, to clean the septic and sewer tanks robots and machines should be used. So robotic arms or robotic machines should be used, just like it has been happening in a few states like Delhi. So such type of measures must be taken if these deaths have to be brought down. Another bad news or another unfortunate news. So January 2020 has recorded one of the highest average minimum temperatures in India and around the world. So according to the US Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's data, whose dataset dates back to 1880, India in January 2020 was the second warmest since 1919 in terms of average minimum temperatures. So this is a very grim reminder. So according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, January 2020 has been the hottest January on record, and according to the Indian Meteorological Department, January 2020 has been the second warmest January since 1919. So these data sets are very significant because we are fighting the global climate change. Let us see some of the trends in India. So the average maximum for January 2020 was the third highest on record at 30.72 degrees Celsius after 2016 and 2013. What is significant here is that all the 3 years in which the warmest Januaries have been recorded have been in the recent past only. So we have data for the last 150 years since 1880s, but in the last 150 years, the 3 warmest years have been in the recent past. That means we are moving towards global warming, and those countries who say that there is no such thing as global warming are basically lying. There is no scientific evidence to claim that no climate change is happening. On the other hand, the scientific evidence clearly states that climate change is a reality. So India's mean temperature anomaly for January crossed 1 degree Celsius for the first time since 1901. So against a January normal of 25.3 degrees Celsius, the mean temperature was 26.32 degrees Celsius. So this is a deviation of 1.02 degrees Celsius. That means the average temperature of January in India has been increased by 1.02 degree Celsius. On the other hand, just as we know that climate change brings extreme weather events, so the winters become harsher and summers become more hot. So in accordance with this trend, the overall winter in North India was harsh, with some areas in Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand experiencing record cold conditions leading to extreme snowfall. In Delhi also, the cold day conditions broke records during December, including a 17-day cold spell when the maximum plunged up to 4 degrees Celsius. In Punjab and Rajasthan too, which experience continental climate, there were severe cold conditions in December and January. So what it means is that we are experiencing extreme weather events, whether it is winters or whether it is summers. So in 2015, the entire world, they congregated at Paris and decided a deal in which the intended nationally determined contributions of every country were decided. So every country determined their own nationally determined contributions, and as an overall target of the deal, there was an upper global temperature limit set below which the countries have to keep their emissions. So what is that upper global temperature limit? The answer is 2 degrees Celsius. So let us see what was decided in the Paris Climate Deal. The Paris Agreement's long-term temperature goal is to keep the increase in global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius. So it is to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level. So pre-industrial level here means the year 1850 or the mid of 19th century. So we have to keep the global average temperature increase well below 2 degrees Celsius and to pursue efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is what we are vying to do. So it should be well below 2 degrees Celsius, but we should try that it should be below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the upper limit is 2 degrees Celsius. And we have already noticed an increase of 1 degree Celsius. And every decade from now onwards, we are experiencing 0.2 degrees Celsius of increase. So by that limit, we will be breaching the 2 degrees Celsius limit by the year 1950 or 2050 or 2060. So to keep that below well below 2 degrees Celsius, all these intended nationally determined contributions were announced, which have to be achieved by the year 2030. And if we are able to do that, then we will lay down some other guidelines which will be used for post 2030 period. There is one good news after all these bad news: strong foreign portfolio investment inflows. So in the last 2-3 months, India has experienced strong FPI inflows, fall in global oil prices, and these two have led to huge foreign exchange reserves of India. So we have now a record $473 billion of foreign exchange reserves because of these two reasons. So what are the reasons for these two causes? First is the strong FPIs inflows. So in the last 2-3 months, around 24,623 crores have been pumped by the foreign institutional investors into Indian capital markets. And the reason for that has been a sharp cut in corporate tax rate by the government of India from 30% to 22% effectively, excluding surcharge and cess. So the corporate tax rate was cut 2 to 3 months back, and that has resulted in increased investor sentiment in Indian economy, and that has led to strong FPI inflows in India. On the other hand, fall in global oil prices has also helped India. So how has it helped India? Because of the total crude oil demand of India, more than 80% is imported by India. So if India needs 100 liters of petroleum, out of that 80 liters is the imported component. So therefore, if global oil prices reduce, our import will also reduces, which leads to accumulation of dollar. So that is how our forex reserves are at an all-time high. If you have been reading newspapers or you have been in touch with the news items for the last few days, you would have noticed that the oil prices, whether of diesel or of petrol, have been going down every day for the last 1 month. So the reason for that is that the global oil prices have been reducing, and because of that, our import bill has been reducing. And coupled with these two factors, strong FPI inflows and fall in global oil prices, we have seen the highest forex reserves at $473 billion. So let us see the impact of Chinese coronavirus on crude oil prices. So while the rising foreign fund inflows and lower crude oil prices have helped India raise its foreign exchange reserves to record highs, the impact of coronavirus on China's economy activity over the next few months may keep the global crude oil prices lower, thereby benefiting India by way of lower import bill. So this is how it will be beneficial for India. Let us see an MCQ based on this. So which entity in India is responsible for managing the forex reserves? So foreign exchange reserves are the reserves that it is a kind of an account with the government of India, which the government can use for imports. So in case we do not have any exports, but we still need to fulfill our basic necessities by way of imports, we use the funds which are available in this particular account. So we have right now $473 billion of forex reserves. So ideally it should be 6 months of import equivalent, and now we are well past that criteria. So let us see which entity in India is responsible for managing the forex reserves of India. The entity is Reserve Bank of India. So RBI is responsible for managing the forex reserve of India. Thank you everyone. This has been the news analysis for February 17, 2020.